So for those of you who don't know, we are recording live. If you do not want your picture shown, please go ahead and feel free to stop your video. I respectfully ask everyone to keep their self on mute unless you are speaking. We will allow everyone an opportunity to speak. So again, I'm Candy Lewis, Executive Director of Positive Results Center. And our mission addresses trauma from a cultural and age perspective. We specialize in teen dating, intimate personal violence, sexual assault, and bullying. We also create awareness about how trauma shows up in all of its forms, and that also includes suicide awareness. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we're about to roll into October real serious. And what's really important is people are now starting to talk about domestic violence because we've been locked down in COVID-19 and everyone is aware of the pandemic. But we're living through, and I mean we're living through 3 pandemics as we speak. We're living through COVID-19. We're living through the pandemic of Black people being victimized, brutalized, beaten, and killed. And then we're also living through the pandemic that has been here for the longest period of time, and that is about domestic violence. So today our conversation is about thriving through survival, or excuse me, thriving after being victimized and surviving. And I want to first share my screen. We're not going to share our screen a long time, but we are going to share it right now. So, conversation is surviving domestic violence, from victimization or being victimized to thriving. I want to let you all know that this conversation may be triggering. We're going to talk about actual cases of domestic violence and sexual assault and how they show up. And we have some amazing speakers, as I told you. So first, I want to bring on Miss Bernita R. Walker, who is the Executive Director and co-founder of Project Peacemakers. It's a domestic violence and intimate partner violence agency program located in South Los Angeles. And she's been in business, they've been in business since 1995. As a violence prevention practitioner and a DV survivor, she's been in the field of DV and intimate partner violence for over 40 years. So I'm going to bring them on, both of our speakers, in just a moment to speak. But I like to tell y'all how I met people. I don't actually know how I met Bernita, but I do know that I've been doing this work since 2009. And when I first got here, I had no idea what was going on in 2008. I was trying to figure it out. And as I really realized that my work was going to be about violence prevention, everyone was talking about this queen in LA. Have you talked to Bernita? Have you talked to Bernita? Have you taken Bernita's class? So I found Miss Bernita Walker, and she's this tall drink of water who ain't playing. She holds no punches. She's the realest real in LA County. And so I took her class. She does conduct these 40-hour workshops to become a domestic violence advocate. And I encourage anyone in the state of California that if you need a domestic violence awareness class so that you can become an advocate, you must take her class. So Bernita, why don't you come on for just a moment and really introduce yourself. Y'all give a warm welcome to Miss Bernita Walker. Yay! Unmute yourself.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. I don't know what to say after that introduction, Candy. As she has already indicated to you that I have been in the field for 40 years. I'm also one of the co-founders of Genesis Center, which is the largest domestic violence shelter program west of the Mississippi that I know of. And it's been in existence since 1980. That's where I get my 40 years from. And also a survivor. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I've been in 2 re- really bad domestic violence situations where there was physical abuse. And so I've had to go from being a victim to a thriver. This is my calling. So that's why I do the work that I do and encourage everybody to get the information, if nothing else. Is that enough? I never know
Ah,
when I'm saying enough.
that's good. Oh, yes, ma'am. That is good. That's fabulous. I'm going to bring you back on for some more conversation. So next, we're bringing on Miss Lavon Morris Grant. She is the Executive Director, founder of Makash Healing Network, and it's the first culturally specific, holistic, African-American, nonprofit, domestic violence organization in the state of Georgia. Y'all, that's a mouthful. This sister is, when I tell y'all she's real, she's bad, she's amazing, she is all that. She's a social justice expert, gifted international keynote speaker, and dedicated political activist on vital social and psychological issues, including domestic violence, mental illness, trauma recovery, suicide prevention and gun control, racial equity strategies. Oh my gosh. Let me tell y'all. So she said she came to LA. There's a program called LEAP. And we participated in that program, and it was full of these women of color from all over the world. And as I walked into this room, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm at home. And she walked in, and like me, she's kind of loud, and she's kind of big, and she gives hugs, and she laughs, and she talks, and she just fills up the room. So, you know, I'm really honored to be a friend to both Bernita and Lavon. And as I thought about starting these programs off, I really felt it was essential to bring them on, especially Lavon, to talk about her life. So, Lavon, come on and join us, girl.
Hey, Candy, you are so funny. Hi, everybody. Candy, can you take my stuff down? I just hate
I'm gonna
looking
take
at
it down.
so
Let
I
me
can
take
see
it down.
so I can see
I'm sorry, wait, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Lavon Morris Grant. I do live in Atlanta, Georgia now for the last 15 years. But if you caught the accent, I am from New Jersey and New York originally. And that is where, well, New York, I'm from New Jersey, but New York is where I really grew up in the work. And I've been in the work for almost 25 years. And I came directly into the work as a survivor. I not knowing anything about anything, no language, no political activism. I had no clue. I was educated woman, meaning I had a degree, but I was from the hood, meaning I would still fight you. So I get voted to be on the board. Oh my God. So I went straight to the top, and I have to explain, I went to the top because my husband, and it'll come out more as we do the work through Candy. My husband shot me 4 times, and the first bullet was in the head. And so I survived. And of course, I was one of the few survivors that ever survived. And so the state of New York, they wanted me on their board, like, hey, and so I got voted onto the board, not knowing what I was being voted on to, not knowing how big this work was. And there's a different language in this work. So anyway, that's how I came to the work. And I grew up and I learned the language. I'm still from the hood, like I still claim it, but I'm more professional, very professional. I cleaned up my act, right? I learned the language, but I don't physically fight you, but I fight you with my voice. And because I know the issues now, I know legislation, I'm an activist, I'm all those things. So, and I'm proud of that. And I learned and I read and I learned and I read and I questioned and I challenged, all of that stuff that Candy talks about. And I get to fly all over the country because I was shot 4 times and people wanted me to be their speaker. I had no clue this was going to be my life. And from there, I wrote 2 books. So just a whole lot of stuff happened since 1996, since that shooting. And my life has taken on a whole purpose that I didn't know I was born to do. But here I am, here this little poor little Black project girl sits. And you know, I sat at tables with princesses and all that kind of stuff, which is crazy to me. But whatever God has is what I do. And knowing Candy and working with Candy, and we both love marketing, which is our big guru. So I'm just glad to be here with you all and to partake in the conversation and to share whatever it is I have to offer. So thank you, Candy.
Thank you very much, Miss Lavon. Oh my goodness. Girl, what did you say? You said with princesses, but I liked the part where you said you had your degree, but you will still fight you. Because I think a lot of us kind of still in that realm, but now we've learned how to fight differently. And this is a battle. So I'm glad you said that. This is a battle. And I talk about it, I walk about it, and I know you ladies do too. People always say, why are you always talking about it? Because of the violence and abuse that is so prevalent, that is everywhere, and it's constant, and it's especially against women of color. So Bernita, you've been doing this for 40 years. Why don't you talk about a little bit about the past history and what you've seen and how it may or may not have changed?
Okay, just a minute. Okay. They can hear you. They can. My husband,
Okay now.
he's trying to get educated about domestic violence the right way. At any rate, when we first started with Genesee Center, the reason why we came to, it was 5 of us, let me say that. It was 5 of us that had all been victims of domestic violence, but we did not know it because we had not shared that with each other. Our children, when we talk about what you mentioned earlier, Candy, our kids are the ones that let us know that there was a problem with our relationship with them. They did not feel that we were giving them enough of our time. And because of that, they said, you know, you guys keep, all of you adults keep, and I'm paraphrasing, all of you adults keep playing with each other and playing volleyball and doing this and doing that, but you never think about us. This is not where we want to be. So we pulled together really to raise funds to take our children somewhere. And in doing that, we realized that we had to, by wanting to apply for 501c3, we had to have an honest charity that we needed to donate to. So we thought and we talked, and back at that, in that time, Senate Bill 1246 here in the state of California concerning funding for battered women's shelters had just passed. It was written by Presley out of Riverside. It had just passed. And a guy that we've never saw before and never saw since told us about these funds that were available. And we researched to find out that there was no shelter in the southern part of Los Angeles. So that's where we aimed our focus, because we knew that this was a problem that we had. And it was not the way that we lived as other ethnicities believed. This was a problem for us. And so we decided that that's what would be what we would do, and open the shelter. And so we were really blessed. God blessed us sincerely. Now, let me say this. When we talk about purpose, like Lavon said, this is her purpose. Doing this work is purposeful work. This is a call from God to do what we need to do to end domestic violence. If we don't address it the right way, we're going to still be bundled, affected by it for a number of years because we're so deep into it. Okay, it's not just about surviving a domestic violence episode. It's how do we get there in the first place? And I think that's what we forget. We don't recognize, how do we get in this? Those who have had my class before, you know, I look at those 5 things. What looks good, what smells good, what sounds good, what feels good, and what tastes good. And those are our five senses. That's how we get into a relationship. Instead of us really addressing the issue about that relationship, we just buy into it because somebody loves us. First of all, we got to learn how to love ourselves. That's the main thing. We have to learn how to love ourselves. That's a part of the thriving as well. Because if you don't love yourself, then you will allow anything negative to come into your life.
Right.
So in order to keep that negative stuff out, you have to take a stand on what it is about you. You got to make sure you take care of yourself. A lot of victims are looking for someone to take care of them. And I mean male and female. They're looking for somebody to take care of them.
And Bernita,
Instead of being,
can I jump in just real quick and talk about that? I really want you and Lavon to talk about that because we all want to be loved. We need to be loved.
right,
Love is important. Love
right.
feels good. So, what's the difference between, and I want both you and Lavon to address, what's the difference between love feeling good and love not? Love hurting. I'm putting out something and I'll share it in a little bit, but love is gentle, love is kind until it's not.
Exactly. Lavon, you want to go with that before I put my 2 cents in?
Thanks, Benita.
You're welcome.
Sure. Because Benita, you are in a loving relationship. I'm gonna call it that. Since because it's only what we see on the outside, right? since 24 years, because September 8th of this year was my 24th anniversary of the shooting. And so since then, I've been a widow still. I have not remarried. And I haven't had all the love of my life as I had hoped would have happened because of all the therapy that I did and all the changing and all the unlearning of behaviors and the loving person I became. I have a man. He's wonderful, and I met wonderful men. But the thing they say about me, black, white, and indifferent, they always say I'm very interesting. I never know what that means. So a friend of mine told me they scared to death of me. That's what it means. But anyway, I don't know if that's a compliment. I don't know, but it is what it is. I'm still a widow because I never divorced my husband, and our children witnessed the shooting. And so with that, Benita and Candy and the group, when we talk about loving ourselves and all that, just the trauma of all of that, it took a lot. I stayed in therapy for 10 years. And I, not to say for 10 years things were crazy. We were getting better slowly but surely. I was getting better. But even in the midst of my trauma, I was still traveling the world, right? I was still the keynote speaker. I was still performing, if that's the right word, but coming home being very severely depressed, still very severely depressed. I ain't come home. I was already depressed. And I had to work really hard to relearn who I was not, and be real honest with myself. And I did. I for the most part, I do love myself. But what I also know in doing this work, as much as I love myself, I still know I can meet a man who can show up to be the best guy, checks all the boxes, because I can smell domestic violence a mile away. I really can. I can see all the behaviors or whatever. But let's say he shows up and he checks all those boxes and still be abused again. So one of the things we do, or I do, when I work with women, I tell them, yes, love is great. It's great to be loved. Oh my God, I can't even imagine like what that would be like even now for me to find the love of my life. But I still know that I can be abused at the end of the day based on how he shows up. And so I just really want women to be aware of that. We can do all the work, because violence, particularly intimate partner violence, it is not about how much I love myself always, a lot of it is about their power and control. And if that's the way if that's his hidden agenda, that abuser knows how to manipulate that so well. Just like we know how to do our work, Benita, really well, they know how to do their work really well. And so when Candy asked the question of how does love show up that hurts, eventually, you know, you will see with particularly for Black women, I know for me, the name calling is the worst for me. And I don't know why my husband never hit me. Well, I have a idea why he never hit me. He never hit me, but he shot me. And I think he never hit me because he knew my family would have jumped him. I mean, just like we would have came and got him. There was just no two thoughts about that. And I could fight. But so love hurts, or love shows up in those hurting ways of words. Those words begin to cut me so deeply, because when I know how to fight, I expect that from strangers, but I didn't expect it from people that loved me. So I didn't know how to deal with my husband calling me all the names. You know, I just didn't know what to do with that, because he's supposed to love me. Because when you call me those kind of names, I'm supposed to be fighting you, but you're supposed to love me. So that really caught me off guard. And so I work with a lot of my clients or women based off what I went through. And there's really nothing new under the sun. That pattern of behavior, you know, it shows up in behavior all the time, you know, that psychological pattern that we know about. And so when you, Benita, talked about those 5 senses, a lot of times we may not see that that person is abusive in that way, but we can also see if they are mistreating me based on that intuition, or based on the way you say a certain thing to me and how it makes me feel. And as women, we have to pay attention, you know, to those small things that we kind of brush off because he smells good, right? And we want to brush him off because we want that smell.
But I want to say something. You touch it, and then I'm gonna bring you back in, Bernita. How they make us feel.
That's
You know, baby, let me tell you something. When you get that feeling, you kind of sometimes say, this feels good. I know it's not good, but it feels good. And those bells and whistles go off in your head and say, no, 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 but you stay. So Bernita, jump on back in and let's talk about all of this, every question that I brought up.
Okay. If I can remember every question you brought up, okay. I hear what Lavon is saying, and let me explain about those 5 senses real quick. Because the first thing that we see, as I mentioned, is what looks good. But we also know that everything that looks good to us is not good for us. So there is some definite investigation that we have to do. And what the second one really is what smells good. Because I don't care how good they look, if they stink, you're not going to have them around you. Okay? So that's the reality of that. But what sounds good is what gets us into trouble. It takes us out of our survivor mode, okay, out of our thriving mode, because we're hearing all of these possible things that we could be blessed with. Not asking, where is this coming from? You know, something like this. I've been looking for a woman like you all my life. I just was looking for somebody I could put in a 2-story home with a 3-car garage and just buy you all the clothes that you would like and blah, 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 blah. And we're going like, yay, yay, yay. But we never ask, what do we have to give up to get this? And that puts us at a very vulnerable point, because we're looking at the outside, not at the reality of what comes with that. That's why you didn't know about the words, Lavon, because you were looking at that picture and you didn't hear the words that he was saying to you until you were already hooked in. Okay, like the cycle of violence, there's a hooking in point. It's not the first phase, it's not a honeymoon, that's hooking in. Because that person, may it be male or female, is coming to you, is trying to hook into you because they see something in you that they either admire or they want to break down. For those of us who are strong, they want to break it down so that they can have the power and control that you were talking about. So that's why it's so important for us to not move into a relationship quickly, because you don't know these people. You only know what they're telling you. So you have to find out about who they are. What are their thoughts? Where are they going? What are they doing with their life? Instead of them getting all the information from you about what you're doing with yours. What are they doing with their life? What do you see them doing? And so that opens us up. And that's when you end up being that victim, because now you have been molded into what it is that they want you to be. And you're willing to give up for that love. Let me say this, if I may, and I know some people are not gonna like this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You don't necessarily run into the person that you're supposed to be with for the rest of your life when you are in your 20s. And you sure don't run into them when you're in high school, because they don't have a clue what they're gonna do. Now I'm talking about the usual. There are extremes to every means. I can say that because my mother and father knew each other for 10 days and got married and stayed together until he died. Okay. But yet, because we want to be loved so badly, because we know that, like you say, Candy, you know, love, everybody wants to be loved. Love makes you feel good. The issue is, what kind of cake are, well, let me do it this way. Love is on in the cherry. I'm changing it around a little bit. Love is in the cherry on the cake of love. Okay, you know what I mean? In other words, you cannot get Duncan Hines and Betty Crocker and make you a cake without it, because it's instant. You don't want that kind of relationship. You want to measure the flour, measure the butter, measure the milk, and everything's got to be proportioned right. Because if it's not proportioned right, the cake is not going to work. It's either going to fall, it's going to split, it's going to do a lot of things. You can't even put the icing on it until it cools off. But we want something that's instantaneous. It does not work that way. Because guess what? You're changing every day. And the people that's talking to you, they're changing every day. So it's not going to be instantaneous. The only thing that's constant in life is change. That's the only thing that's constant in life.
That's real talk, Bernita. That's real talk. People don't take time to really get to know someone. To, you know, you look at them, you see them, you smell them, you go to up and down on them, you be like, dang, I want this. And you don't have the slightest idea. And especially, I tell people all the time, be very careful of the ones who tell you who they are from Jump Street, and we just don't pay attention. You know, the one that really blows my mind is the one who tells you, baby, I've never had anybody love me ever. My mama didn't love me. You know, I've had some dog ass women and they wasn't shit and they didn't love me. And what they're really telling you is either A, they're unlovable, or they're the problem. But we want to go into that savior mode and help somebody, and we can't do that. Ladies and gentlemen, because it happens to men and women, boys and girls. Girls are victims, boys are victims, men are victims, women are victims, and women are abusers just as men are abusers. But we also want to save somebody. We want to feel good and make them feel like, you know what, I can give you all that, I can build you up. And it's not about us. We can't change that person. They have to do it for themselves. Lavon, I really want to know, you were shot 4 times and you were shot in the head. And you survived. You said at the time you were the only one to survive. And I know you were smart, intelligent, beautiful, fabulous. Did he just like graze your head or some shit? What happened?
Whoa. So, okay, so that was 24 years ago, right? So I was in my early 30s, so I'm aging myself now. So we have 3 children. We have 3 children, or I have 3 children now, because he committed suicide in the process too. So just a whole mess. So prior to the shooting, Candy, I left my husband. I left him for a total of 10 months by the time the shooting happened. And I left not because I knew anything about domestic violence, even though all that stuff was happening, but you know, I didn't know there was a name for it. I didn't know, you know, what it was. All I knew was he wasn't hitting me. But what I knew was the marriage was bad.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, the marriage wasn't going anywhere. We were constantly arguing all the time. You know, I was losing respect for him, and I kept begging him for us to please, let's go to therapy, or I didn't say therapy because I wouldn't have did therapy. I was just like, let's go marriage counselor, let's go get some help or do something. And he didn't want to go. And in that process, he was constantly threatening me, threatening to kill me. But my thing was, I ain't do nothing to you, you know, because when growing up, and I don't know if it's just growing up in the projects or just growing up, period. I grew up believing for you to want to hurt me like that, I would have had to do something to you. So I didn't pay his words any attention. They were just words. They were empty threats to me. And so when I left my husband, I left with the belief, really, oh my God, deep down belief that once he saw that I left, he would then want me back so badly that we would go to therapy. I did. I went into shelter. I went upstate New York. I was in New Jersey. I went upstate New York, took my 2 youngest children, left the oldest one because he was in high school, because, you know, he wasn't a threat to the kids and not like that. Pretty much good dad. And Candy, unbeknownst to me, that action that I took on a whole life of its own. It just snowballed. The church was like, she ain't no good. His family was telling him to leave me. It just snowballed. He would tell me we would go to therapy. And when I was thinking we were gonna go, he would change his mind. So a whole lot of things started happening to me, and other people was talking into his ear, including the church. And so it just, every time he wouldn't do something that we had agreed on while we were separated, it caused me to have to stand my ground. Like, because I said, I'll do this if you do that. Right. And so, make a long story short, he just would not. But I kept going to therapy. I kept going to the therapist and crying and boo-hooing. I can't believe this is happening. Like, why are you doing this? I don't understand. To where 10 months has passed. He had a girlfriend by this time. Just a whole bunch of stuff transpired that we don't have time for. But they could buy my book, Candy. It's all in the book, and we'll talk about that later. But real quick, Candy, 10 months later, it's September, and I come to the house to visit, and I notice my husband is acting different, mentally different. But, you know, I wasn't around, and I can't put my finger on what's going on. But a lot was going on with him in that separation. I was thinking, because I left him with everything. We had a lifestyle of $100,000 a year, and I left him with everything. I went under the poverty line. And so I'm like, why are you struggling? I'm the one that should be struggling. But he was struggling emotionally and mentally from the separation, even though he had taken on a girlfriend or whatever. And I don't know what was going on in his head for him, but I do know prior to my leaving, he did tell me that he would kill me, even though I didn't pay him no attention. And I asked him, why would you kill me? And he said he would kill me because I was changing. And in that change, he knew I would leave him. And so he would have to kill me. And I was just like, what? And then he said, I have to kill the kids. I was like, well, why you got to kill the kids? He said, I have to kill the kids because you and I are both good parents. I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill myself. And I got to kill the kids because I don't trust anybody else to take care of our kids the way we would. So he told me that like 10 months way prior to my leaving. But again, I ain't paid him no attention. And violence was never in his behavior. And I was like, dang, her. That was my husband's name. And he did tell me, he said, and when I shoot you, I'm going to shoot you in your head. And I was like, well, wow. But again, I really want y'all to hear me when I say this. And Benita could probably testify to all her work with this. I am a 30-something-year-old woman. I have no clue about any of these kind of behaviors. I grew up believing words will never hurt you. And so in my head, they are words. My husband never showed any signs of him being violent at all. So I was not afraid of him. I didn't walk around on the eggshells, as we know a lot of women do. I didn't have any fear. He may have had some control, but I pretty much did what I wanted. I spoke out when I wanted, which is why in the arguments he would call me stupid bitches. And my response back to him was, your mama a stupid bitch. Now, I ain't saying that's the way to go. I ain't saying that. I'm just saying what I did. And I loved my mother's but he said those things to hurt me. So I got to ante up and hurt him back. And that was the only thing I knew to do with words, but never thinking him telling me he would kill me and all that something like that can really happen. And so Kenzie, when I came back to visit in September when the shooting happened, the next day he really did carry out or attempted to carry out what he had told me. But I don't know how he got to that place mentally to not only shoot me, because he shot me in my head, and that bullet is over here now, so it passed through. The doctors don't know how I survived. They don't know how my brain didn't shatter. They don't know how it didn't sever my vocal cords or my spinal cord. And then he shot me, what was the second one? In my thigh. Then he shot me in my butt, and then he shot me in my foot. And I'm running. So when I get down the stairs from the bedroom from being shot, I'm running. I grab my kids. I never lose consciousness. I grab my kids to me, and we run. We are running across the street to my girlfriend's house for safety. But I don't know I'm shot 4 times. I'm thinking I'm shot 1 time in the head and that I'm going to die any minute. Any minute I'm going to die. But I got to get these kids. They were 14, 7, and 4. I got to get my kids. And I got them in the house, and I told my girlfriend, put them in your basement, and I'm going to go lay on your kitchen floor to die. I said it just like that. I was calm. I was clear. I knew I was going to die, and I was accepting of that. And I was like, okay, I'm 33 years old. I accomplished nothing in my life, and I'm going to die. And I just remember hearing Spirit say, we're not doing that. And I started having another kind of argument. But anyway, my husband in that process shot himself, and they went to the temple, and he shattered his brain, and they rushed us both to the same hospital. And it's the weird thing about all that, Candy, was because I'm conscious, even though I'm shot 4 times, I am still his caretaker. So they have to come to me for all his medical attention of signing off on allowing them to do whatever they needed to do for him, because I'm his wife. So yeah, it was, I don't know how my husband fully got there when we had none of those patterns of physical violence that we know about. I didn't have that. And we didn't have the back and forth. Like, I didn't leave, go back, leave, go back. No, I left and never went back. And I think what happened for him, Candy, at the very least of what I did know of her, because I did know him in high school, but we dated later, was because he lost control of me. I think it began to play on him mentally that I was no longer there, and he was just struggling. So I don't know all of what was going on in his mind, but that's the short of it.
Wow. Well, let me just say, first off, thank you. Thank you for blessing us with your truth and being so transparent and so loving. And I thank God that you survived. I thank all the ancestors that you survived. And you laid on that floor saying, I have not accomplished anything, but that changed.
Yes.
You've accomplished so much. Your spirit and all your spirit ancestors said, no, this is not your truth. You will not die today. And I love that. I love you for that. I mean, you just bless me. And I know I'm watching Facebook people chime in, and I know everyone here is really just thankful for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I want to bring Bernita back on. And I know I saw Bernita taking notes. I'm over here writing notes myself. So I'm not even going to ask you a question. Bernita, jump on in and talk about whatever is on your heart at this moment.
I'd like to reflect on what Lavon was sharing, because I don't want to say that's atypical, but it's a very usual thing. And one of the things I wanted to say is that when people tell you what they're going to do, believe it.
Yes.
Believe it. You know, I know we the words of words can't hurt me, but we know in this field, words can hurt you, because that emotional abuse is just as bad as the physical abuse, because the emotional abuse becomes before, the verbal abuse that takes you into your emotional abuse comes before the physical abuse usually, because they have to get you situated in a position to where you'll receive the physical abuse. Okay. And you said that you never saw him as a violent person, but he showed you he was being violent when he said the things that he said to you. See, some people think that because I don't get hit, I'm not being abused. That's not true. There are a number of things about abuse that come up: financial abuse, educational abuse. I mean by educational abuse, keeping you from getting an education, because if you get an education, you'll get a better job. You said that you had not accomplished anything. You had accomplished something. You had been a good mother to your children, number one. And number two, God had a purpose for you going through, just like you said, because people are not going to, I'm going to say that, people will believe us more when they hear about the violence that we have gone through, when they hear about the experiences that we've gone through. It's a lot easier to counsel a victim when they can identify with you in some way. But when they can't identify, then it leaves them empty. And when they try to move forward, they can't, because they have nothing there. That's just my opinion. I believe that. I share with all of the clients that I counsel, because I want them to know I'm just not hearing what you're saying. I've lived what you're saying. And it's really important that you understand what you're going through and how to get out of that. Okay, because you're supposed to be talking about, I'm looking at the clock, thriving as well. That's a part of it. We have to remember that we should not get into relationships coming out of a bad relationship, getting to a new relationship before we're healed. And because we want to be loved, we get into a new relationship before we're healed. It takes time for healing. You went through counseling for 10 years, you see, and others have gone through counseling as well. But still, many of them don't tell their counselor, their therapist, everything they should be telling them. Prior to being on the line, I was on the phone with a friend of mine that we've been going back and forth for years. He's also an ordained minister, back and forth for years. And I kept not understanding a part of what he was saying that he couldn't stand. And finally today he slipped and told me that he had been sexually abused by one of his cousins when he was younger for a number of years. Okay. And I told him, thank you for sharing that with me, because now I understand more about why you feel a certain way. So we have to be open as we go through the healing process to become that survivor. Because if not, we will fall right back into that same catch, because it may be somebody else with those same 5 things. Okay. And it sounded so good that we got hooked up. Oh, this one is real. This one, I can really believe this one. You mentioned the church. You mentioned the church.
I was going to ask you to talk about that, Bernita, because that is your field.
I'm asking Lavon because she mentioned the church. I want to know where to go there. Where should I go with that?
Well, Benita, for the sake of time, I didn't want it, because that's a whole nother book. That I've written 3 books already. I've never written the book fully about the church. So Benita, I was in the Baptist church. I didn't grow up Baptist. I was raised Catholic. And Benita, I've learned about church, religion, in spirit. They are not the same at all. And I called them the church folk, and they pretty much we became deacons and deaconesses in the church. That's why I mentioned the Baptists. And we were the youngest deacon and deaconesses in the church. And the church, Benita, when my husband killed himself and shot me, well, before I even left, I was this bad mother. How could I do that? How could I do that to Deacon Grant? For the first 7 months of our separation, Benita, he didn't give me any money. And we didn't have technology like we do today, right? So he wouldn't put the stuff where it was supposed to be. He caused my vehicle to get repossessed. So a whole bunch of stuff happened. But the minute I sent the children back to live with him, oh, here comes the church. Want to talk about why would I do that to Brother Grant, as if he wasn't their parent too. And I sent them back because he kept saying, well, just send them back when I would complain about the money. And so the church took sides. And my personality, Benita, is, you know, in your face, outspoken. I question everything, including the Bible. My husband's personality, and we were like this in high school, he's quiet, he's meek, he get along. Let's just get along for the sake of getting along. Let's keep everything. So of course they love Brother Herb, but his wife over there, if he could control that wife, so we already had that happening. And once I left him, and now my husband, remember I told you, well, we were making close to over $100,000 a year. So they saw the materialistic stuff that he gave me. He did fur coats, 2-3 vacations a year. You know, we were young. We were in our late 20s, you know, early 30s, and we both educated, got college degrees. So why this little Black project girl wasn't grateful that this man was doing all this for me? I needed to shut up and go sit down somewhere and let him lead. And so Benita, when the shooting happened, or after, and even at the funeral, it was horrible. The church stopped speaking to me. They talked about me really badly. After the funeral, I never stepped foot in that church ever again. They didn't even acknowledge that my husband committed suicide. They didn't even acknowledge that. They didn't reach out to me or my children, you know, or anything. And there were just so many rumors in our community that I caused him to do this. Like, all the blame was put on me, that I made him do this. And so, you know, the good thing—
I asked for a reason.
Right. The good thing, Benita, real last thing, is that I didn't turn away from God. I don't do church, but my spiritual connection and my love for God is strong and thriving.
Amen. And the reason why I was asking is because we find that a lot in the faith community, because most of the leaders in the faith community have no clue about domestic violence or domestic abuse. They don't understand because of whatever reason. I can't say why they don't understand. They don't understand because they haven't had the training that they need to do the right thing. Most faith leaders want the victim to go back home and make a good dinner, and clean the house, okay? And that is not the answer to the problem. The problem is dealing with the individual that's causing the abuse. But they don't see that, because you must, as a victim, be doing something wrong, because if not, your mate would not take that type of attitude towards you. And we have, there's a Faith Trust Institute that's in Seattle, Washington. They have a lot of information concerning not only the Christians, but Judaism as well as Muslim, to give you insight as to what's happening in those communities. God does not want us to be abused. He does not want us to be abused. So when we say, well, he's doing that, my husband or my mate is doing that because they love me, that is not love. And that's where we have to understand, when I say love yourself, you wouldn't be beating on yourself. You're gonna hit yourself and cut yourself and hurt yourself. You're not gonna do that. So whatever you would not do to yourself, that's what the other person should not do to you.
Right.
Okay.
That's real tough.
Okay, and that's the serious thing about it. Yes, we all want somebody, but you may not meet that person until much later on in your life, because we keep shortchanging ourselves. Well, they got this, so I guess I can put, we make a list, right? We told to make a list of what we're looking at in a mate.
Yeah.
And as we start going down that list, comparing it to the person that we're listening to, we say, well, they have a good conversation. Yeah, but they're not as clean as I want them to be. Yeah, but blah, blah, blah. And the next thing, our list is up 2 sentences. Will they pay the bills?
Right.
Okay.
And
Will they
sometimes,
make sure we got food?
or how do they make me feel sexually? You know, so I
Go
have
back to that
say
cake I was talking about, because that cherry is really, sex is really the cherry on the cake of love.
Yeah.
And it takes the
Yes.
right ingredients for everybody. It's like this. You see, y'all work jigsaw puzzles? I know I can't see nobody's hand, but those of you who work jigsaw puzzles, you cannot put I'll just use a square peg in a round hole. You cannot put a square peg in a round hole. It is not going to work. You have to shape that square peg to fit that round hole. But we don't want to take that time because we're so busy trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to do this. You know, I've been married 3 times. 3 times.
Mm.
The first time I got married is because I was pregnant.
Mm.
That lasted about 2.5, 3 years. The second time I got married was on the rebound. Now, you young people, I don't know if you know what rebound is, but it was on the rebound because I was looking for somebody to love me and it sounded good. Okay? He committed adultery on me and a whole lot of other things. Never put his hands on me, but he committed adultery. He lied. He cheated. Those are the things that you look at. My third husband, I married him and divorced him. That's the one you see going by. And then we got married again after 27 years. Because we both had to grow. We had to grow. We had to grow into being the adults that God would have us to be in the purposes that we're doing in our lives.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it.
That's real talk, Renita.
Straight talk. I'm just, we talking survival and thriving.
Right.
Okay, you victimize, you learn what you're supposed to learn from being a victim. Every lesson you go through in life is a lesson that you are supposed to learn every day. If you go to bed at night and have not learned something during the day, then you wasted the breath that God gave you.
Mm. And I have a friend and I tell them all the time, I'm not a child anymore. I know what I want. I know what I'm not going to deal with. I know what is going to make me happy. When I was younger, I did settle for a lot of bull, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just like push this off or not think about it until all of it came piling down on top of my head and I could not move any further. And I had a complete, breakdown. And I've been building myself up like Lavon. I was in counseling for years, even when my partner didn't want to go to counseling. I'm like, this ain't about you. And today, I know I make some people angry because I say, well, you know what? This is my world. This is about what makes me happy. And if I'm not happy, then I'm not going to do it. And I'm not just talking about what's satisfying my physical body, but what's satisfying me emotionally. And you all both talked about domestic violence, and I want to let everybody know, for those that are listening, domestic violence, teen dating violence, intimate partner violence, and all of those are the same. They show up differently for every single person. So you can't look at one person and say, oh, I'm good because that doesn't happen to me. Like Lavon said, that person, Herb did not physically hit her, but emotionally he was breaking her down and preparing her. Just 2 weeks ago, I was counseling a woman and she had called. She was so upset because her partner that she had left 20 years ago, and before she left him, she separated from him, but he told her from day one he was going to kill her. And she was fortunate and blessed that he did not kill her, but he did kill the next person that he was with. And he did kill himself after. And she was wondering how she should feel, because she was overwhelmed, but she was thankful that he didn't kill her. And she knew that it could have been her. And I said, you get to feel how you feel. See, people want to tell you about how you should feel, and that's a form of abuse, controlling how you feel. So I just want to really move into, how do we move from being victims and how do we become survivors? And Lavon, I do have a question. You said you had counseling for 10 years, and you weren't the only victim. Your children were. And did they get counseling? And so how do we move from being victimized? And I do want to go back, and I said the victim, because you weren't the victim. You were being victimized.
That's
and
right.
You talked about, the other day, we were talking about changing the language, which changes the narrative. Can you talk about that? And then we'll move back to Bernita.
Sure, Candy. So when I say I was in counseling for 10 years, a lot of reason why I was because of my children. So it wasn't just me. I learned early on in my therapy sessions, way early on in the process, once this happened, that my children were going to need therapy also. And I was one of the few in my family, you know, in the Black community, we don't do therapy, and it was frowned upon. And everybody was like, oh, you're trying to be white, whatever. I'm trying to be healthy. Y'all can say whatever y'all want, because the first 33 years of what I knew didn't work. So here we are. And so I had to buck, not only within the culture, I had to buck up against my family too, and stay firm that this was a process that me and my children were going to go through. Now, I didn't know it was going to be that long, but it was what it was, and probably still needed to go back from time to time. But there was just, in therapy, it was just so much unlearning of behaviors on my part. And I would get very angry with my therapist, because my therapist wasn't saying this, but what I kept hearing my therapist say was that something was wrong with the way my mama raised me. That's what I kept hearing. But he wasn't saying that. That's just the way I was receiving it. And so I had to work through that. I had to work through a lot of resistance. And also my daughter, who was the youngest, she was 4. So by the time I started taking her to therapy, she was 5. And they would tell me I didn't have to worry about her because she wouldn't remember. Well, she did. She remembered everything. And she was the one who kept us going to therapy, her behavior. And she was the one of how I ended up getting to Atlanta. And I never wanted to come to the South, but this is where I am. Her behavior, my baby was stealing everything that was not nailed down, and she was good at it. She knew how to lie. She knew how to, she started wetting the bed. She started hoarding garbage. My daughter, Sharia, who's 28 now, the boys, they probably dealt with it more inward, but Sharia was showing us, I don't care what y'all do. It ain't working for me. And I'm going to keep doing. She wanted instant gratification. And I think what she found was doing things negatively caused that instant gratification to come to her right away, opposed to working through the process. Sharia was not having it. So as much as I thought I was in control, Sharia really was the one in control, because her behavior, and as she got older, her behavior was bordering on criminal behavior. And I saw that by the time she was 12. And I had to make another huge investment of change. And that's how I had to leave New York and I got to Atlanta, because I knew I only had 5 more years. Because Benita, what I learned in therapy, and I hope everybody hears when I say this part, was that if I only got 5 more years for my daughter to be successful through high school and not get caught up in the criminal justice system, I can't start 5 years later. I had to start 5 years ago. So I had to put a plan in place when she was 12 in order that by the time she turned 17, 18 years old, she would be out of harm's way. And that was a lot of work. And one of those ways was I had to leave where we were to give a fresh start, which hurt my heart so bad because I had to leave graduate school. I only had 1 more year left of graduate school. My trauma her behavior kept kicking up my trauma. So my healing was bouncing all over the place. My process as a mom, I felt so defeated and I felt so powerless. I felt like such a failure as a mom, no matter what I was doing, even though I was doing all of what was healthy now. It just, her behavior kept showing me nothing was working. And so I had to keep working on me to be okay for her and my sons. But my oldest son, he had come to Georgia. He had gone to Morehouse. I dropped him off. He graduated from Morehouse in spite of all the trauma. Went on to graduate school when we did move here. And so it was just therapy, counseling was huge. And it was that. I will always hold therapy. It was through my therapeutic sessions that helped me continue to work on me thriving and becoming more than just a survivor and to become more than just my story. I realized and recognized I was bigger and more powerful than just what happened to me, that there was more to me than just Lavon Morris Grant got shot 4 times and she's the mother of 3 kids, right? And in that process, I kept learning the work, I kept learning the language, I was going to conferences, reading books. Even in the midst of my trauma, even in the midst of my therapy, I was still learning the process of how to help, particularly Black women. Not just with domestic violence, but just through trauma, just to get to some healing and to call things what they were and be real with yourself of what was happening. And my books allowed me to do that even more because I'm always transparent about my behavior first. So I recognized my behavior in you. And so I knew how to spot it. I knew how to spot when Black women would become very defensive and resistant and whatever was going on. So therapy, Candy, really with my connection to God, those 2 pieces were such saving graces, you know, for me to grow as a Black woman and to love me and to be able to show up and smile. And finally, after 10 years later, it took about 10 years, Candy, really, that I began to feel joy in my heart. And that I could feel my heart smiling. And I was just like, wow, it's getting better. And real quick, last thing, that daughter who shifted all of our lives, she's 28 now. She went to Savannah State. My baby got her degree in mass communications. She is one of the strongest leaders I've ever met in my life. By the age of 20, I've never seen anybody with the amount of confidence and leadership that she had. And knowing who she was, I was like, wow, this chick really know who she is. And people would ask her, where you get that from? And she would always say, my mama. Well, I felt like, oh my God, I did something. Like I hung in there and it was impactful. And all of the pain, all of the trauma, all of the everything, the work, oh my God, the amount of work, I instilled it in my daughter and my sons, I want to believe, because they're doing well too. But I use Sharia a lot because she was the baby, she is the baby, and because she was the one who outwardly was showing us that y'all gonna have to do something different because this ain't working. And so that's why it was so good for me, Candy, to embrace therapy, and I stand by it all day.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to hear about your daughter. And girl, look, first off, as Bernita said earlier, you've always been a fabulous mom.
Thank you.
So just kudos for seeing and being present enough to see that your children needed help and that is how you can continue to grow and thrive. Because see, that's what thriving looks like.
Yes. I broke that cycle, Candy. I broke that cycle. My children have a whole different outlook in dealing with violence or not, right? And dealing with relationships. They're much more equipped than I was. right?
Yes.
And we broke that cycle in my family because, oh my God, I just get chills every time I think of my children. And you would never know that these three people experienced the horrific trauma that they have experienced. And the biggest thing too, and Benita can talk more about this, they love their dad, and I allow them to love their dad.
Yeah.
And that is okay. That is okay. You love your dad. But you just understand this is who and what your dad did
Right.
without trying to sugarcoat it, right? So
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there real quick.
And I'm gonna let you talk right after I say this one thing, Bernita, but with this woman who was sharing with me that her ex-husband killed his wife, and she was so upset because so many people saw this wife and her ex-husband as these awesome people, because the new wife was also the girlfriend from 5 days after they first got married, the first wife. The second wife popped up on the scene 5 days after that lady got married and became his mistress for the whole time they were married. And I said, but see, everyone has a different relationship. And you can't say that because you had this kind of relationship that everybody has to hate or dislike. So Bernita, go ahead and talk. I know you have so much to say, and I just want to let everybody know that we have exactly 23 minutes to continue this conversation that we could talk for days on. And I do have a couple of questions in the comments, and we will get to them. Okay, and we will talk about your book, Lavon, and all the things you do. And also, Bernita, before we end, I want you to really talk more about your agency.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me. All right. First of all, let me say this. I took a look in the chat box to see what was being said, but I want to encourage everybody to keep journals. Lavon has written 2 books, and she's probably working on her 3rd. So I suggest to all of you to keep journals, because there's something that you have gone through, as I mentioned before, that somebody else needs to know. And the one way that you can make sure it gets published even after your death, do some journals. And that'll also help you with your therapy to get things out of you. There's a lot more room outside of you than it is in you. And if you keep just pushing things down inside of you, you're going to burst. That's why the journal is so good, that you can get it out of you. I want to say that. And then I want to encourage you to go to therapy. You know, just to have somebody to talk to that's not going to be judgmental. You probably end up having to find the right type of person in order to do that, because everybody is not going to be receptive. Everybody doesn't understand your culture. Everybody doesn't understand where you're coming from. And you need someone that can make that type of connection. I've been in therapy, and listen to what I'm saying now. I've been in therapy for 40 years. Now, let me explain to you what I mean. Ever since I started doing this, I have been in therapy because of what I have learned, which takes me to my next point. You hear today, there are plenty of information that is out there that's free. You don't have to pay to take it. It's out there that's free. Women of Color Network, they have bunches of information. Ujima, bunches of information. There's so much stuff going on the internet right now. I had to make myself get up out the chair Monday before last, and when I got up, I couldn't move. I was so stiff because I had sat there for like 6 to 8 hours. It was either 6 or 7 or 7 or 8. I don't remember. But I sat there so much just looking at this, attending meetings and blah, 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 blah. So sometimes I don't know if the Zoom is good or not. But at any rate, I love it because I get a chance to attend all of these different trainings that, you know, that are out there. Fill yourself up with knowledge. Just don't get it from one person and say, well, I got that. No. Do it again. I've gone through the 40-hour training, I guess, at least 3 times in my 40 years. And because there's always something new. As a domestic violence advocate, as a survivor, there are things that are changing every single day. I mentioned that earlier. You want to open yourself up to get the information you need to move you along. Okay, want to mention that. And then someone had talked about the churches. How do we get to churches? That's a good question. You know, everybody says that these days. That's a good question. The good question is that you have to be in the movement. And what I mean by that is that you have to approach your pastor. If you can't get your pastor's ear, approach his wife's ear. Because believe me, there are a lot more first ladies in the churches that have been abused than you know about. So you have to get somebody's ear and share with them. Call me. I'll be glad to come and talk to your congregation, whatever you want to, you know, as far as that's concerned, because that's the only way we're going to get the information out. Our churches is our basis to our faith, really, is our base to what's going on with us. You said, Lavon, that you don't go to church, but you got a spiritual group. You got a spiritual group that you talk to on a regular basis. Everybody needs to have this information. It's not just for me to have and not you. I want you to have this information. I want you to be able to share the information, because the more you know, the better we do. We got a crisis that's going on right now with our families because of lack of information. That's what the book I read that says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. That's us. I don't care what you say, that's us. Because we all people of whoever the creator is for y'all. I know who he is, it's God. But at any rate, we have to get the knowledge and able to move forward to keep ourselves from not being abused and to help our children. Lavon, my hat is off to you. My daughter works with me now in the agency. She's the chief operating officer. My daughter is 55. When I was going through the worst domestic violence that I went through, she was 9 years old. And for 12 years, she would not speak to me because I moved her out of the house to protect her until I could get away from my abuser. But by then, she was so hurt by what she was experiencing until she was angry with me and I couldn't talk to her. I couldn't tell her anything because she just came up with all kinds of things to say that I wasn't this, I wasn't that, I wasn't this, I wasn't that. But now she works as the COO in our agency. And she's also a retired LAPD officer. I'm a retired deputy sheriff. You know, so we, in the thriving part, we did things that helped us to pull ourselves together to be able to do the work that God called us to do. And that's the reality of that. So getting back to those churches, I would love to. There's also a group called United Faith Network that Genesee Center started. It's a number of churches that are involved there. We're not meeting right now, but if you want to know where we're meeting, send me an email, because I think you're gonna post our stuff. Send us an email. Send me an email. My phone number is 323-365-7742. My email address is Bernita, because my name is Bernita, Bernita, at P as in Paul, P as in Paul, M as in Mary, I as in Ida, N as in Nora, C as in Charles.org. Now, I know you want me to put that in the chat, but I don't know if I'm going to get to the chat. I'll try to get to the chat to put that in. But
Bernita, I'm going to post both your information and Lavon's information in just a little bit.
Okay.
So that everyone will have it, and you'll have enough time to, if you can't write it down, get your cameras out and take a picture.
Of me?
No. I'm telling everybody else. Yeah, they need to take a picture of you, but don't worry. We have this on video. It will be on, not only is it on our Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, Positive Results Company Facebook page, and it'll also be on YouTube.
And I just want to say this before Lavon steps in. Don't mistake my laughter for making light of this. I'm not making light of it. This is not anything to make light of. But we have to stay in a joyful mode in order to get the progress that we need, in order to get what we need. If you're not joyful, if you know someone, let me do this real quick. We have a list that says 15 warning signs of abuse. If you send me your email address, I will send it to you. and it gives you an idea of what abuse looks like. It's not all of the signs, but it's 15 that you can help somebody else with. This is all about sharing information. Thrive, find out what your purpose is. Find out what your purpose is in life and do that. Don't just do a job because it's a job that's paying you money. Is that your purpose? Is that really what you want to do? Get to that point. You will be much happier in living this life that God has blessed you with. Okay, I'll be quiet.
That's the real truth, you know, because, and don't think that you just have one purpose, people. When I was younger, my purpose was in sales. I was fabulous. Let me tell you, can't sell nothing past me even today. But then my purpose changed, and my purpose became about, you know, community. And then somebody just told me the other day that my purpose is really not about violence awareness and prevention, but it's about sharing love. You know, helping people to really feel their best self, you know, because we've been beat down and beat up and put down by so many people. I say the violence and abuse begins in the womb because it does, you know, and while we are pregnant, people tell us, oh, talk to your baby, but your baby still hears that same that you not SHIT, and that baby feels the abuse, and including when you clench up, that baby feels that. So we have to learn how to change the narrative and find that love and be joyful. People want to know, why are you smiling all the time, Candy? Because I woke up this morning. Because there was a time I didn't think I was going to wake up. And I not only woke up, I woke up on my own accord, in my own bed. Nobody had to get me out of bed to wipe my behind, okay? So I'm doing 100% better than a lot of people, and I'm thankful about it, and I don't take it for granted, not a single moment. And those who may be experiencing violence and you're saying, but I don't have nothing to be thankful for, you do. You should be thankful that you woke up this morning, and that you do have the ability to make a difference. If you can't make a difference for yourself, my friend Kelly Dillon said that she had to get out of a relationship for her kids. There's a purpose somewhere, and you just gotta find it. So we've talked about therapy, we've talked about depression, we've talked about violence. I really want to say this. Because Lavon, you're not the only person who has been shot. And a lot of people don't think about gun violence and its relationship to domestic violence. And I thank God that you survived. But people, you need to understand that Black women get killed more often in abusive relationships than anyone else in the world. And then also, most people don't know that we're always talking about these school shootings and mass shootings. Did you know that 79% or more of mass shootings are related to domestic violence? When Bernita and Lavon said it before, when someone tells you they're going to shoot you and kill you, you need to pay attention, even if they have never put their hands on you. So it's important that we know the signs. And Bernita, please send me that, and I will post that on my Facebook page, and I'll also send it out to everyone, because I'm going to send a copy of this video out. And I love for everyone to just share it. The biggest way that we can prevent violence and abuse is through conversation, which is what we're doing here today. When somebody tells you that they're being abused, please don't question them. Believe them 100%. And the second most important thing I want to say is, do not further abuse them and ask them, why are you in that relationship? You're so stupid. You're so dumb. I would never. Don't talk about what you would never. Because we've all been at that I've never, and then found ourselves right smack in the middle of it. I'm going to turn it over to Bernita, and we've got 10 minutes. Wait, before I do that, I want to share something with you, because Bernita, you said we all have a story and we all need to keep journals. I want to share a project that we have going on right now. Let me go to the screen. And where is it? Excuse me. Before I do that, let me pull it up, because you know you have to pull up what you want. Otherwise, it will never be there. We've got two going on right now. Oh, of course, it's not here. Okay, so instead of sharing this, I'm gonna come back to you all. What I'll do is I'll share them in email. We have two projects going on. One is called The Voice of Truth. It allows Black people to share your truth or that of your family. Anything that has happened in the form of violence, whether it is gun violence, gang violence, domestic violence, because you've experienced it, you see things or you saw things that somebody else may not. And we want to have this conversation so we can prevent further abuse and violence. This campaign, you may have seen it before, you will actually receive $100 for your submission if it is accepted. And it goes through October 31st. You'll receive that. And we have a new one that just came out today. We're looking for Black artists to share what violence looks like, because see, we do the storytelling, but sometimes we may paint, or we might do a song, or we might have some kind of art. All art form is accepted. And this one, y'all need to pay attention to, because we're looking for art and we want to drop it every single day during the month of October. We want to share some kind of art form from someone who has submitted it to us. And for your art piece, and it must be an original art piece that's never been shared, you'll get anywhere from $300 to $750. I will send all of the flyers out with this, this video. So I'm going to share the screen one last time as we bring up Miss Bernita. Let me go here. Of course, this doesn't want to. Let me stop sharing, make sure I'm sharing the right one. Okay, this is the right one. Do you all see this? Somebody say yes.
Oh, no.
Okay. Let me get out of this. Of course, I'm stuck.
I see so many faces that I know. Pamela, I see you. Hi, both Pams. And Constance,
Good
because
to see
Constance
you.
and I have been
Hi,
communicating.
Bernita.
Hi.
Hi, Constance. I
Good to
haven't seen
see
y'all in
you.
forever. Great to see
Okay.
you.
So we're in the last few minutes. Everyone, this is Ms. Bernita Walker's information. So Bernita, why don't you give us the last couple of minutes, take about 2 minutes to really talk about, I don't know, thriving, or what someone needs to know, if there's a point, how they can reach you.
Okay. As far as thriving is concerned, I'll go back to what I shared earlier. Find your purpose. Find what it is that you want, that you need to do, that you've been called to do. Because all of us have a calling on our life. And a lot of times we're not following that. So you find what your purpose is. That's where your joy is going to be, because that calling is what you were made for. Just want to share that. Our program at Project Peacemakers, we're a domestic violence program. We do everything except shelter. And then we help them get into shelters, but that's the only thing we don't do. We do restraining orders, no charge at all. We also do parenting, anger management. We have life skills classes where we teach our clients the computer as well as financial budgeting and balancing. We also do SUDS, which is substance use disorder, We respond to those who have that and going through counseling. We even have a child abusers treatment class that's ordered by the court, where the clients are ordered by the court for those who get assigned to go to those types of classes. We are approved by probation to provide those services. And then we have our faith services as well. So those are our main things that we do, along with the 40-hour training, as Candy mentioned. We're going into the third week. Next week, we've already did 2 for this. We do it twice a year. We do it in the spring and in the fall. This is our fall class that we're already in. So you plan to go through the 40 hours, you want to go through it with us. We'll be doing that in April, starting in April of next year. Usually it starts the 2nd or 3rd Tuesday. You have my information. If you're interested, just give me a call and or call the office. You can call the office. This is our information on the line. And check out our website as it's down there, Project Peacemakers. Okay, that's the, go to projectpeacemakersinc.org for our website, projectpeacemakersinc.org, okay, for our website.
All right.
And I think,
Ms.
I think
Bernita, I'm really sorry that we messed that up.
That's
to make
all
sure
right.
we get that corrected before we send this out.
Please, okay.
Okay.
I want to thank Candy for asking me to participate. I'm thankful to Lavon for sharing her story. It's very important that people understand. Well, I didn't get a chance to share mine, but that's okay. People know mine. At any rate, it was just wonderful to be on this panel with you and the information that we were able to share with everybody. Okay. For I'm gonna give you my email again, Bernita. She's gonna probably fix it. Bernita at ppminc.org. Okay. Thank you so much again for listening. And I pray that I have said something that has pricked your heart and your soul.
Amen. Thank you, Miss Bernita. I love and appreciate you because you just all kind of fabulous. Y'all, she's all kind of fabulous. And you know, when you find a fabulous person like Miss Bernita and Lavon that are both down to earth and humble and helpful and supportive, the love is real. So thank you so much. And Miss Lavon, why don't you come on and just bring us home? Take us all the way home, okay?
All righty. Thank you, Candy. Benita, thank you so much. I hope I get the pleasure of meeting you physically one day. And I know in my travels through LA, I will definitely look for you through Candy in the hopes to get to meet you and see the great work that you're doing there. So thank you for your words to me, your words of wisdom, and you look absolutely fabulous. Your daughter's almost my age, so you floored me with that one. So thank you, Ms. Benita. I enjoyed being on this panel with you. And of course, Candy, you know, I have nothing but love, you know, for you. And Candy has my information up top, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I am just so, I'm always humbled and honored to be asked to talk about my purpose, the healing process, the trauma, you know, all of that. And my greatest hope in discovering my purpose, I always say my purpose found me. I didn't find it, it found me. And from that, it has extended, right? It has extended to a place of healing. Like, I know my purpose is bigger than just the violence against women's work I do. My purpose is about healing through whatever forms of healing that looks like for us, and particularly for Black women, because being a Black woman, I know Black women so well, and because we have to carry so much, and we have to carry everybody most of the time, and there's no one to carry us. I know when we come with all the made up faces, the beautiful hair, the nails, the feet, we come decked out to the T. I know we are covering up so much pain because I was you. And so I can see through all of that. And I just want to say to you, if I don't say anything else, you don't always have to cover up all of that pain. There is help. You can reach out. You don't have to be a victim of domestic violence, indoor sexual assault. It could be whatever you're dealing with. You don't have to carry it alone. And you don't have to be the strong Black woman. I wrote a poem about the strong Black woman myth of me giving up my cape. So that's something I would love to leave with you all as Black women. You don't have to be the strong Black woman to be a strong Black woman. You don't have to carry the world or show the world that you could carry it and hold all your burdens and be strong. You don't have to do that. Being vulnerable is being strong. Asking for help is a big sign of strength, particularly for Black women. And I've learned how to do that, and I can help you do that. And so you could contact me. There's my number. You could befriend me on Facebook. I have so many friends on Facebook, I don't know half of them. So just come on and join and let me know who you are. And you can reach out to me on Instagram at my life coaching. So I do a lot of life coaching work. So I showed up today in my for-profit, Lavon Morris Grant LLC, but I also run my nonprofit, which is Makash Healing Network, and that's a local program we do here in Georgia. But for these purposes, for Candy, I showed up in my for-profit role to talk about this work as openly as I love to talk about this work. And so thank you all for your comments. Unlike Benita, I don't know many of you on this, but I feel like I do because you all have sent such great, encouraging, loving words to me in the chat. And I'll try to multitask, acting like I know something. I'm trying to listen and write at the same time back to you. So thank you so much. You could go to my website to purchase any one of the books, because the books are not on Amazon. I am in control of all of my products. I am the author and the publisher of all of my products. So you can get them directly from me, and I will sign every book that you purchase. So Candy, thank you so much. This was awesome. And what I'm hoping, Candy, I'm putting it out there because there's a lot more to talk about that we could do a two-parter. So I'm just putting it out there.
Baby, you just said a word and we can make that happen for sure. Definitely for sure. And we can talk more about Bernita's story. We can also talk about your book. Maybe you'll read a little excerpt from it or something.
We got a whole lot to, because I would love to hear Benita. We got a whole lot more that we can get to. So yes.
And I need to buy a few of those books, and maybe we're going to talk about some things we're going to do in October for our Purple Purse awareness campaign. So maybe we can include a couple of them in that. I'll talk to you about that on the side. And on that note, I want to end with, we are a Positive Results Center. And everything that you saw here today was just my honor to have these beautiful women with their beautiful spirits. And so many of my friends and co-workers and community partners have joined us. And I'm very thankful for each and every one of you. If you need help, if you want to reach Bernita or you want to reach Lavon and you can't remember how to reach them, please contact us. You can text us, you can email us, you can go on Facebook and you can find us, and we're here to support. But I appreciate you all. I love you all. You have this information. I will also be sending this out. I'm going to stop the sharing because I just want to see you all before we leave. There's been so many awesome comments here, and every one of them has just been so kind to each one of our guests, and I really want to thank you so much. So again, I'm Candy Lewis. We've gone a little bit past 3 o'clock, but I want to thank you so much. I hope you join us every week. Look for the email that I will send with, again, Bernita's information, Lavon's information, a copy of this video, and also our upcoming competitions, and they are competitions. One is a storytelling, well, actually it's not a competition. One is a campaign where we want you to share your truth, and also share it with anyone that you know that's Black, that has experienced something. Let them be the storytellers to help someone else to prevent this violence and abuse. And then also, if you know someone that is artistic, that's Black, share Love is War. That is the name of the campaign. We thank you. We appreciate you. I love you all. Bernita, girl, you know I got nothing but love for you. Lavon, girl, I'm going to have to come to Atlanta or get you to LA so we can make this happen. We bring you to LA and then we could do this outside on a platform and be, you know, socially safe and socially distancing. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to just go ahead and open this up. You don't have to leave. You can say hi to everyone, but the presentation is over. Thank you so much.
Kudos to you, Candy. Kudos to you.
Exactly. She does. Man, I saw somebody said she has the best workshops, and she does. I've really enjoyed them all throughout the summer. So thank you so much. Unfortunately, I must go. I have a 3:45, and I've got to get over to my office. So thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from you all. Okay.
All right. Christy. Bye, Valerie.
I look forward to seeing everybody. Raul, we did not forget you over there. Okay.
Constance.
See you all later. Bye-bye.
Came in from Utah. Hey, Miss Shay. Keisha, Face.
Hey, Christy. Christy, the only one I know besides you, Candy.
Okay. I know Christy been in the bag just jumping all around. This whole time.
Christy, I'm gonna see you tomorrow when we do our work.
Hi, Candy.
Hi there. How are you?
Oh, girl, I'm tired, but I'm working it.
Okay. Put your feet up, girl. Put your feet up.
I think I have my feet up a little bit too long.
Carol, you need to know Lavon.
I know, right?
Carol, and I was invited by CSA to go to a Black Women's Network meeting or conference, girl, in Salt Lake City, Utah. And she lives in Salt Lake. I was like, wait, what?
I love the way you said that. You said, I live in Salt Lake. Thank you for saying that. Because people say, oh, you're from Salt Lake? No. Nope, won't claim it ever.
We'd love to get to know you, Carol. Yes.
You too, Lavon. You were wonderful.
Thank you. In all of my travels, I've never been to Utah. Never got to Utah.
Okay, well, I have your name now. It's beautiful. Picture perfect, beautiful. That's all I'm going to say.
I know. I got that, Carol. I got that.
But we will.
Heart for you.
I got your name,
Heart for everybody. Thank you, Miss Betty. We see you over there smiling.
I put my info in there too, Carol, inside the chat, on top of the fact that Candy has it. So I would love to, which is why I show up under my Lavon Morris grant, because Lavon Morris grant needs work.
Trust me. And I'm not a nonprofit, and it's killing me. But that's okay. I'm working for free.
Right, my nonprofit is fine. It's my for-profit, which is me.
Yeah.
But let's see what we can do. You know, I believe when you put things in the universe, everything is possible. So we're gonna go ahead. We'll make sure that we're putting in the universe that we need not only funds, we need unrestricted funds, both our nonprofit and our for-profit.
That's right.
We need travel funds.
That's right.
And we need to be able to pay our staff and our team, the ones we have and the ones that's coming.
That's
and
right.
ourselves, right, Candy?
And ourselves.
Right. If we don't work, if we don't get paid, it's very difficult because we're the ones that are the visionaries, but we need the team to help us to create the whole process.
Tell me about it, Candy.
One doesn't work without the other, and everybody must be paid.
And what's interesting is, although I really don't get paid a whole lot, I just keep coming back to this work. So, you know, you must love it. I gotta love it.
It's that purpose.
That's right.
I would have left the work a long time ago, dealing with the racism, the illusion, all the other stuff I didn't talk about today. But for understanding my purpose is bigger than the work.
Yes.
Or the behaviors inside of the work. I keep coming back. And Carol, that's what has kept me these 25 years. And I remember saying to God, I know God be laughing at me because he thinks I'm silly. I was like, God, can you change my purpose? Can you
be careful what you ask for?
I know, right? I was like, God, this is too much. But anyway, so I got to meet people like a Christy, I get to meet people like a Candy, and then the clients I work with, right, the women and the children. So it really, really warms my heart to that over 25 years, I have such love and experienced such love from the people around the country. And I love people. I absolutely love people.
Me too.
And I think that's another reason why I've done so. When I say well, I don't mean financially, but well, well in the sense of making friends and creating networks and putting people together and helping people find their healing or recognize that they need some healing. So, and Candy is Candy is no
She's
joke.
a blessing, right?
She is absolutely. I can't believe how we connected over marketing. Marketing was what the work didn't really connect us. It was the marketing that connected us. I don't get to meet a lot of Black women who know marketing and know it better than me.
Okay, Candy, I'm going to be calling you for marketing. You're so busy, girl.
Well, you know, that's my background.
You're so busy, girl.
And that's how we really got to have conversation. And then, of course, you know, the work just was there because that's what we were there for. But it was the marketing that.
Oh, that's good. I need to contact Candy for my healthy masculinity program, but this might be the last one coming up because I'm not getting the men. The men don't necessarily want to talk, but I do have a call from one of the panelists tonight, so maybe that'll be the ticket.
So this summer, Carol's been running this fabulous workshop on Black men and masculinity. She's run all kinds of men through, young men, older men, gay men, straight men, bi-curious men. Just the conversation is so needed.
It's been great. It's been absolutely great. So we'll see what this
man named Payne out in Minnesota. He's really good. Also, I was their keynote last year in Minnesota on at their masculinity conference.
Okay.
I was the keynote speaker, and they did a really great job. And then there's this big program in Minnesota, Men Peacemakers, something like that. I don't remember the name of the organization, but I can get the information to Candy to connect it to you.
Sure.
Just to ask how they are making it work, you know.
Hopefully we'll be doing something with women in October, but I didn't want it to be a Zoom. I really wanted it to be a round table, but that costs money, so it may have to be a Zoom. That's all right. People are zoomed out.
Yeah.
Listen, before we go, Christy, if I see you shake your head and go all crazy one more time without you saying something, I'm gonna have to jump to the screen.
Thank you, Candy.
Say something, girl. Don't be sitting in the background. Look, no offense. Don't be the old white woman sitting in the background saying, listen to him.
We can't hear you.
Right.
I'm trying not to be the white woman that comes in and takes up all the damn space like we usually do, you know?
But we're not gonna let we're not gonna let that happen. But we do want to hear from you.
This has just been phenomenal, Candy. But like I don't even know. I've lost count of how many of your wonderful trainings I've done, and that's been one of the silver linings of COVID is that I have been able to be home and have space and the availability for you to be that you're putting these on and just bringing such important education. And I'm so very grateful. And I mean, heck, I remember meeting you at the Peace Over Violence. I mean, a million years ago, and I was like, yes, everything. Oh, yes, yes. And it's like, and Lavon, oh my God, Lavon came to participate in one of our trainings, and then she could have run the darn thing, and she was the best thing about it. Yep. I mean, the whole thing. And and then working with Bernita all those years with the DV Council it's like, and it's Cecilia Walker also. I was like, this is the best reunion homecoming I could have ever asked for, on top of all this great information. So I am blessed. My heart is overflowing, and I can't tell you all how much I appreciate everybody.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. This has been really good. I was scrolling back and forth. I was like, oh, that person's on. Oh, and at first I almost started at the very beginning to shout a couple of people out. I said, oh no. I'll be shouting everybody out. Lavon and Bernita would never be able to talk.
So Candy, I'm gonna go, but what I would like from you, whether right after this or whatever, give me a call or contact me so we can just have a quick chat.
Right after this, I'm about to hang up on everybody. It's been lovely seeing all y'all, but I gotta go talk to my speaker.
Good seeing you.
Thank you. You got my information.
so much.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because I'd love for you to do a workshop with us or something. That would be phenomenal.
Girl, you ain't saying nothing but a word. I'm on it. When you want me to do it? Let's talk. Call me in about 30 minutes or call me tomorrow or something. Send me an email. I'm about to call Lavon.
Beautiful.
See you later.
so
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Nice
Bye,
meeting you.
Bye,
Thank
Carol.
you.
Bye, Betty. Bye, Shay.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. This has been a
Okay.
blessing. I'm really grateful for this. Thank you so much for
Thank you so
letting me.
much,
This is the
Shay.
first time I've seen this. Thanks to Betty. This is Betty and Pamela. I got to be here, and I'm so grateful to be here. This is just amazing. I'm blessed.
Thank you. So we've got a whole, oh girl, we got a whole series during the whole month of October. And now I believe you signed up. Of course you signed up because that's how you're here. And so I will send you information about the upcoming events as well. Love for you to participate. And I'd really like to learn a little bit more about who you are and the work you do.
Absolutely. I would love that. Thank you so much. And yes, please keep me involved. This is really a group I want to be in. This is just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Betty. Good to see
Okay,
you.
darling. You all take care.
All right. You too now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.